right.
Right.
What's up, YouTube? What's up, Twitch? Just gonna post this story that we're live. What's up, Twitch? Oh, gotta mute that. There we go. Good. There we go. Alright. This is BrackCast number 65 now. And every 5 we're supposed to kind of just like hang out, chill, catch up. I've been super busy. Well, it's like an attempt for us to like hang out, and not everything has to be like super serious. So I think today's topic, what you came up with, is it's pretty cool, kind of casual talk that we can have. Yeah, our topics today, I guess, is just like the transitive effects of like emotion, pain versus pleasure, why we cry tears of joy versus tears of sorrow, and yeah, even like yawning is something too that is something communicated from like one person to another, and it is actually contagious. So anyway, what are your opening thoughts? I have like obviously some posts here that we can look at too, but yeah, what's up, man? How you been?
Opening thoughts. Well, first of all, I've been good, man. You know, just I feel like it's been a busy summer. I feel like a lot of people are like extra busy. Like there's a lot of people traveling right now. Like people have like been planning stuff for like July. I've been hearing a lot of people planning stuff for like July. So
Yeah,
it's a nice stark contrast to like 2 summers ago, where or even last summer where everything was just kind of like up in the air, you know.
do you got stuff
Um,
planned?
just been I've been out, you know, just going here and there. I'm generally like I live in Mississauga, but I'm generally always in Toronto over the weekend, just doing stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
do you have a
yeah,
vacation
man.
like coming up soon though? Like you traveling anywhere?
Hoping to go to Atlanta soon for a show at the Fire Pit, which is like our
Oh, snap.
DJ crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hoping to make that happen soon. Potentially
Summer?
like Miami. Yeah, summer, like late summer. And then I
Nice.
would like to go to like Nigeria/Ghana at the end of the year.
Okay.
So
Is that
yeah,
like a
couple
solo
things.
trip? Family trip? Maybe group trip?
It it'd be a solo trip because I got family out there,
Yeah.
and they're actually coming here in the summer, like in like 2 months.
Yeah.
So they're gonna come to Canada for like the first time in a while. Then I'm gonna go see them when I head over there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Really, you hear a
man.
lot of people travel in July. Like, I'm hoping to do something in July. It's the thing that's keeping me is like, I wonder if is that really a good time to travel internationally.
Mm,
It's like obviously summer here, so it's hot everywhere else
mm,
really to go unless you go on the opposite side of the earth. But yeah, I'm thinking late July too. I want to go somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, the reason I was watching the new Disney Star Wars ObiWan series,
Yeah.
and there's a scene where Princess Leia, the I guess like 10-year-old version of her,
Okay.
is having a conversation with her dad. So just to set up some context, um, basically she's like, you know, not necessarily like a traditional princess. Like she's more like a tomboy or whatever. Like she likes to be out in the woods, playing, climbing trees, all that shit. And they're expecting like a visit from like another royal family.
Yeah.
And so when the other royal family comes, this Princess Leia, she runs into another like kid from the other royal family who is like elitist and is like talking to her like, "Oh, you're not really one of us. Like you're a blah 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 blah."
Okay.
So basically, she like tells him off. She's like, "Oh well, you just want to be your father. You'll never like make any decisions for yourself. Your life is already made out for you. You have no like willpower making ability." She basically just eradicates his ego, right?
Okay.
And so her and her dad, like her mom is like, "Oh, you have to apologize to the other royal family. That wasn't very nice." but her dad is like, he has this really like nuanced moment with her where he's like, you know, I never really wanted to, you know, do this like royal stuff. I wanted to be like out in the wilderness, like, just being adventurous and stuff like that. He's like relating to her, right? It's like a father-daughter moment.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but you have the responsibilities of a princess, and one day you're gonna have to rule, right? And so, think of it this way. At some point, that cousin that was bothering you, he's gonna have to follow your orders. So for now, just apologize. And I was like, yo, that was such a sick moment. And I found myself like getting really emotional about that. And I was like, whoa, that was like a really cool, because you hear like fathers and daughters have, that special bond or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was cool to like really see it played out beautifully in cinema. And I found myself like getting very emotional, and I was like, "Oh wow! Like this is really interesting. What's happening to me? This is a interesting phenomenon. It's just like a cool human experience. So
Did you
I
get
thought
all
that would be cool.
teary-eyed, or like you get choked up, or it
I
was
got
just
a little choked.
it felt
I didn't.
powerful? Is it like it felt
It was,
powerful?
yeah. It was like a powerful moment, right? Like I didn't cry or anything, but I found myself like getting choked up. Like I was like, "Oh shit," you know.
What would we call that?
So,
Obi-Wan, Princess Leia scene, father scene,
um,
Leia dad father scene. What would that be? Like what
yeah.
happened there? Like
If I play it on Disney, like, will I get
no,
flagged or
we
something?
can't do that. I can show a
Okay.
clip on YouTube. I don't think this is like Leia Organa father teaches her the Force. That's probably not it.
Mm, father teaches other force.
Yeah, that's one of the scenes here. Or
Let me
Obi-Wan
see.
Kenobi, you are my father. Leia being a
Uh,
leader. Huh, so it's good. You'd say it's like so far better than Mandalorian or
um,
what's the
when
other
I
one?
started
Boba Fett?
when I started watching the show, like initially,
Yeah.
I found myself like really like bored, like what's happening. But I think maybe I just wasn't like
That into it in
into
the
it at the
beginning?
time,
Yeah.
But then I went back to it and I was watching it, and I finished episode one, and I finished watching the entire series
Oh, you
because
you
I was
binge
like,
watched the whole thing?
I fucking binge watched it. I was like, yo, I got into, they got me,
Wait,
So
Obi-Wan's already done, like season? It's already
there was
finished?
4 episodes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's 4 episodes, and yeah, I just like the storytelling was amazing,
Okay.
and I guess like I didn't realize that because the Star Wars chronology is like all like mixed up and shit. I guess I didn't realize that there was actually two Obi-Wans.
What?
Yeah, right? Am I
I
tripping? Yeah, because there's an Obi-Wan in like the old version.
the old Oh,
Who's
like he's old?
yeah, but he's like played by another actor. So in like the newer series, he's played by Ewan McGregor,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I didn't realize that was
The
like
same guy?
the time span.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
That was like the time span, So
Yeah.
because like but
The original Obi-Wan
yeah,
in like the first Star Wars, yeah, he's an old man. Like that's basically when he dies when we first see him.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So like, yo, Vader's in this shit, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, I heard, and they got the original
Yo,
voice, right?
he's fucking OP'd, man. Oh man. Yo, there's like a scene where he's walking through a village and just casually just murking people with the force. He's like, "Oh, you die. Oh, fuck you. Oh, fuck you." It's crazy.
And he's like
Obi-Wan shook, yo.
he's full mask the whole time, right? We don't see who
Everything.
he is, but he has the voice of
Uh,
James Earl Jones still, I think.
Actually, they show him in his like non-armor form too.
Who is it? Is it some other actor?
Uh, I don't know. The makeup, right? You can't really tell because
Oh,
he's still like
he's still all
fucked up.
messed up. Oh, I see. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. True.
yeah, but yeah. I
Yeah.
got hooked, man.
Okay. Like, have you watched all the other Star Wars?
I watched all the old ones like once,
Yeah.
and I watched like the three most recent ones,
The new ones, yep.
like 3 times. Like those, I really like those ones actually.
Oh, the
Um,
latest ones.
yeah, and then I've watched like the middle three, maybe like once through, and I think I watched maybe like Return of the Revenge of the Sith like twice or something.
Okay, so when you say original Star Wars, that's 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the OG ones, and
Mm-hmm.
then when they made them the new ones, it was 1, 2, 3, Phantom Menace, whatever,
I wonder how he had the foresight to do that. That's kind of crazy.
and then after that was, I guess, 7, 8, 9
Eight,
was
nine,
the
yeah.
one after. But did you see like Rogue? I think something with Rogue Wars
I
or
saw
something. Yeah,
like Rogue One.
Rogue
Was there
One.
another one in between?
Uh oh, there was Solo. Solo was another one. Han Solo.
Started watching it, but I haven't finished it.
I liked honestly everything I've seen. The only thing I haven't seen are like the animated ones.
Yeah,
Sometimes I've seen like scenes of the animated ones,
but
but all movies I think I've seen. And yeah, the 7, 8, 9 was not amazing, but it was amazing.
mm,
You know, it was still amazing
yeah,
being 7, 8, 9, but it wasn't. It just it kind of fell short of I guess everybody's expectations, but I still enjoyed it. I watched Mandalorian. I
I
just
like that
I
one.
just couldn't bring myself to really follow through with Boba Fett. I will probably end up binge
Mm,
watching Obi-Wan at some point. Yeah.
you don't like Boba Fett?
No, I just never started it. I just never jumped on the bandwagon when right after Mandalorian they went into Boba Fett, right? So it was like,
It was good storytelling. That's what I will like
okay.
say about it because I was like, well, I find myself excited to watch this, but it's kind of how they did it with how Marvel did it with Ant-Man.
Okay.
Because like when Ant-Man came out, everyone's like, "What the fuck? This is so fucking
Like, who's
random."
Ant-Man?
That was a good movie,
Well,
and
they
the
casted
sequel,
him perfectly too, you know.
you know, it was great storytelling. Casting was amazing. It was humor.
Yeah.
So I found myself like, "Yo, this Boba Fett shit. Like, I can watch this."
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about him, but I found myself just like, "Oh shit, what's gonna happen?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, man, check it out.
So, I'll pull this up here in terms of tiers because I will say too, in terms of music, do you find like you have the same kind of response to music? Like
Oh, of
it
course.
can like
What?
draw, you know. Here, let's pull this up. Go live right there. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can still see that. Probably
Trying to
not.
send my boy the link to this pod.
So yeah, I find myself quite often having emotional responses to certain chord progressions when there's like
Mm,
something. I don't know. I hear it in a lot of like orchestral music or like classical music or movie scores, especially. You know, like even Hans Zimmer, the way they lead you into like they know there's like this I guess scientific
mm-hmm,
formula where like certain chords when you play those
mm-hmm.
chords and build up a certain direction and then you resolve them in a certain way, it like it the sound itself tells a story which can convey
Mm,
either like stress or like anxiety or like pain and suffering versus like happiness and triumph, right? And yeah, I don't necessarily have crying like tears response to those moments, but I'm guided by the music in those moments. But sometimes, man, just like in an emotional scene, when you bring in this like music in the background, it like amplifies what's going on in the scene.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? Like
Oh, of course. What? Violins.
yeah, I can imagine though like probably one of the saddest scenes. I don't know. I cried a lot, I guess, during like even Titanic, like the death, like watching all the people die after Titanic like sunk. Spoiler alert, Titanic sunk. Uh
Uh-huh.
I can imagine if they didn't have music in the background, would I have responded the same way? I don't know. Probably
Mm.
not. Was there good music at the back of the scene where Leia and her dad were having that scene?
Yeah, yeah.
Would
And it was the picture too. The picture, the visual of it was also like really dope
yeah,
because it was like she was standing on one side and he was standing on the other, like this taller figure,
yeah,
and they were looking out on this like
like a
like
vista.
this mountain vista, right?
Yeah,
And it's just like mountain range, and it was just like white. They were just in this like white chamber, and it was just like a really tranquil moment.
yeah.
But it was like these two entities having a really dope interaction. So yeah,
Okay,
man, the visual, the the music was dope, and then the conversation, right?
yeah.
Crazy.
All right. So
Senses.
since we're talking about emotions and tears, we figured like why not pull up some like scientific stuff behind like what we're talking about. So I did a quick search, and apparently there are three types of tears: basal tears, emotional tears, and reflex tears. So a basal tear is more complex, having three different layers. These layers coat the eye, supply nutrients to the outer structures of the eye, and protect the eye from drying out. Your eyes are constantly shedding basal tears, even though you may not notice. These tears protect the cornea and constantly lubricate the eye. When you experience dust, follicles, or debris in your eyes, the tears that appear to clear your eyes are called basal tears. I just found that out today. I didn't know we were constantly crying, but it makes sense because otherwise our
Mm-hmm.
eyes would be drying out. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional tears. Maybe some of the most common and well-known types of tears. These are the tears made when one is overcome with emotion. Scientists have found traces of stress chemicals that could mean that crying is a way of relieving stress. Yeah, I've heard that. Additionally, some studies suggest that crying stimulates the body to produce endorphins, which are known to the feel-good chemical produced by the brain which are known to be the feel-good chemical produced by the brain. Interestingly, humans are the only creatures known to produce emotional tears, though it is possible elephants and gorillas do as well.
Hmm.
I swear I've seen like puppies cry.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I feel like when a puppy isn't fear. Fear is an emotion, right? Like I've seen like a puppy. Yeah. Don't like animals. Okay, maybe let's look at reflex. Maybe it's
I mean, I know they pee when they're scared.
yeah. But like, let's say a child is separated from their mother, like an animal, like an animal is separated from the mother. Do you think? Okay, let's look. Let's reflex tears. This type of tear is made in the lacrimal gland and is made up mostly of water. The body makes these tears as a reflex to a stimulus. For example, if a bug flies into your eye, the eye tears to flush out the bug. Sometimes the eyes water and there isn't anything in the eye to flush out. This can be related to dry eye syndrome. Okay. So
Hmm.
emotional tears, basal tears, reflex tears. But I swear I've seen
That's
animals
crazy.
like
Yeah.
cry out of like terror, fear,
Hmm.
and like also like separation from like their mothers or whatever. Right? I
Hmm.
swear. Or are they just wailing and not really crying? Because I've seen babies wail without crying. Anyway.
Baby whales.
Not like even normal babies, like regular babies.
Oh,
They're
maybe they're.
they're like whining, but they're not actually crying. But they make the whining sound like, but they're not actually crying tears. They're just
Oh,
complaining.
maybe maybe that mechanism isn't developed yet physiologically.
No, because they cry too. Like if
Babies. Oh, like actual tears.
yeah, they cry actual tears too. But they don't know how to communicate. So when they're not happy, they just they just whine, right? We all
Now that you mention it, I
yeah.
don't think I've ever. I don't think I ever have I recall seeing an infant cry. It's mostly been like a toddler.
Right. Okay. Oh, but you mean like yeah, let's
I
say
don't think
like when a baby is born, right? When a baby's
tears come
born,
out.
no, they're not. I don't think so. I don't think there are tears, but they're definitely crying, like they're wailing, right?
Hold on, let
You
me
gonna look
Google
that up?
this.
All right, let's look that up. Do babies cry?
Tears.
Tears. There we go. Oh, most babies breathe and cry
Oh
immediately upon
yeah.
born. If your baby is breathing well, baby can be placed naked, skin, skin. Okay, wait. Cry.
Oh okay. So it's not developed yet.
Oh, tears?
Yeah.
It's uncommon for your newborn to cry tears before their lacrimal glands have fully developed. But if your
Oh,
newborn is at least 2 weeks old and crying tears, they probably just reached the crying with real tears phase of life. Okay, so they. Okay, well, there you go. Newborns
oh,
generally don't have those tear duct things. Well, they have the tear
look at
ducts,
that.
but they can't produce tears.
Develop it yet. Interesting.
So there you
Interesting.
go. It's an ability, apparently. Toward the end of the first month, some newborn babies develop a blocked tear duct, which is a blockage of the pathway that carries tears from the eye to the nose. What do you think about the whole thing where scientists have found, cortisol? I'm thinking they're probably saying cortisol, that they find cortisol in tears, like stress chemical. They said that was cool to hear that there's like when we cry out of like
It's a stress
emotion,
release.
yeah, we are releasing stress. We are actually getting rid of cortisol. I guess it's cortisol, right? Let's see.
Yeah, it made me just like, cause okay, human beings. There's this thing about us and like
Cortisol.
glands, right?
Yeah.
And the release of like, fluids and fucking the nose releases phlegm and what's called sebum, ear, like wax, like
Oh,
is
what?
slowly released in the ear, and like tear ducts release like tears from lacrimal glands, and like, you know just release of fluids is like a continuous perpetual thing that human beings really uh even though when women lactate during pregnancy and shit. So I was having this thought, like, just on a physiological level,
Yeah.
and how that like ties into like just the connection that we have with like animals, in terms of how they too, like, you know just like the natural things that occur in animals have a lot to do with like releasing fluids, right? And like, if they want to, like, if a male species wants to inseminate a female species, they have to like release some sort of,
Like
fluid into the
endorphins?
female. Or
Oh,
no, 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 I mean, talking about like, I don't want to say semen, but just like they have to like impregnate the female species, or there's just like a lot of release of chemicals,
oh,
is what I mean, basically,
okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a parallel between like animals and human beings,
Right.
right? Whereas on a human being level, with tears specifically, it's specifically tied to like emotion,
Yeah.
right? And animals, like, their thing is just like biology and instinct and like science.
Yeah.
And human beings too, it's mostly science too, right? Like, uh
You mean like physical
tears,
properties responding to something?
yeah.
But
But like tears specifically have like this emotional thing. And so does like semen and fucking vaginal fluid too, if you think about it, because it's like a high pleasure sensation, right?
huh.
And then there's like this release, you
Well,
know?
I don't know necessarily if
That was a lot of
the
talking,
if
sorry.
the if the liquids itself, like I'm talking about like I guess like the sexual liquids, I guess we can call them.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's like pleasure things in the liquids in those liquids themselves. I think there are certain yeah, maybe it's the word gland, but there's certain
Hmm.
like triggers that are tied to some sort of pleasure response in our brain. Like it's not the actual liquid being released, but maybe the process of that liquid being released triggers these other like sensors in your body that then get transferred into like the pleasure part in your brain. Like
Yeah,
like
no, we're saying the same thing. That's what I mean.
oh, okay, that's what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't talking specifically about the liquid, but just the
Right.
fact that that end result is the same between humans and animal, yet like the context behind it is different for humans, because there's like an emotional,
Oh,
um you know uh origin of it.
well, okay, yeah, that's so yeah. Every living thing has like this purpose of like reproduction, right? So like I get what you mean. Animals, even plants, they have it in their like physiological makeup to reproduce. But yes, humans and I think maybe dolphins are the only species, that retain pleasure from like sex. I'm pretty sure it was like that, right? And I think that has something to do with size of brain, evolution. But in terms of what you're saying, that it's tied to emotion, I don't know, because you can still feel the pleasure with like the whole sex thing without an emotional tie, right? Like there's people who out there who can, you know.
I guess like maybe in more of like a blanket, because human beings, we have like the ability to like think, right? So maybe not necessarily like emotion in terms of like feelings, but just like we have a higher level of sensation, in
Yeah,
terms of our ability to like
yeah,
interpret like input, like sensations that we're receiving,
yeah,
and how that makes us like feel.
yeah. I'd say we have a much more complex like dimension of thought than any other living thing.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. In terms of, let's go into. I have another question where I want to take that, because when you said pleasure versus pain, like we'll go into that, like I think the contrasting thought you had of that, but then I remembered now like even the other like psychological states of like finding pleasure from pain, like
Hmm.
those like sadists or masochists and stuff, right? But anyway, before we get into that, let's just read this last thing about what to know about tears of happiness. I can put all these links in the description. Sometimes when we're filled with joy and emotion, we start to cry. We usually associate tears with sadness, so it might seem strange to cry when you're happy, but crying can have some positive effects on your well-being, and you can actually help you to manage your emotions. It's not known exactly why we cry tears of happiness or how they are different from tears of anger or sadness. But when we cry due to something we think of as good, rather than something that's sad, we call it tears of joy. You don't just shed tears when you're upset. There are 3 types of tears. Yeah, basal tears, we talked about that. Psychic or emotional tears, we talked about, and then irritant tears are the reflex tears. Benefits of crying. Crying can cause your body to produce hormones that make you feel better. So yeah, when you cry, apparently you release oxytocin in the brain, endorphins.
Hmm.
If you feel emotional comfort when you cry, your mood can improve afterward. But if you try to push back your tears or feel shame when you cry, it can have the opposite effect and actually bring down your mood. I mean, yeah, I've heard that, like holding in tears, holding in crying, like when men do that, it actually increases their
Hmm.
anxiety levels. The culture you live in may also play a part in whether or not you feel better after you cry. People who live in wealthy countries are more likely to feel relieved and more positive after experiencing a bout of tears. Interesting.
Oh man,
There's a
that's so
wealth thing.
depressing, yo.
Yeah, I was like, so if
Yo,
you're
that's
growing up in
crazy,
a
yo.
poor country
Yeah. And you
and you
cry,
cry, you're just gonna
you're
feel
still
worse.
poor.
Yeah, you're just poor.
Yo.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh,
That's
come
sad.
on, man. I shouldn't have laughed at that. That's
Ty-
terrible.
yeah, you're right. Types of
Oh
tears of
man.
happiness. There's amusement. You cry tears of amusement when you're laughing. They used to said laughing
Hmm.
so loud. You cry.
Hmm.
Affection. Tears of affection might happen when you're at a wedding. A rush of gratitude and feelings of warmth. Yeah, I've felt that. Like hearing it, like two people have a speech and they start getting all emotional. I get all emotional for some reason just listening to them.
Hmm.
Beauty. Tears when you become overwhelmed by an astounding scene. That's happened to me sometimes.
Interesting.
Very rarely, but I can be like inspired by a scene, but rarely would I find like, wow, something is so visually beautiful that I'll cry.
Hmm.
I wonder. And then achievement, I've had that. Achievement tears could happen when you achieve something important or overcome an obstacle or hurdle. I've seen people cry when they finish, like Ironmans, or when they finish
Hmm.
a marathon. It was for me, it was an academic achievement in high school. Like, I didn't even know this like award was given out, and then when they announced my name, I was so happy, and yeah, I cried. It was,
Oh shit. Or like when you like beat team in the finals of a championship game when you're like down by like 5 with like 1 minute to go
Yeah,
and you
like
rally and win by like 1 at the last second.
you
Oh,
know that scene where Jordan's on the ground and he's holding like a basketball and the
mm-hmm,
trophy and he's crying.
mm-hmm. That's it. That's
Well,
the
people
one.
said that he was crying because of his dad, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
think that's an
I think I heard
achievement
that that
thing.
was incorrect.
Yeah. Oh, really? It was an achievement
Yeah,
thing,
I
or
think
it was his dad?
I don't know. Yeah, I think I may have read that's incorrect, but don't quote me though.
Okay.
People be saying all kinds of stuff on the internet.
All right. All right. So now, I guess we could segue over to like pain, pleasure, pain,
Oh
happiness, sorrow.
God.
So what were you
Oh
thinking?
God.
What were you thinking in there?
Oh,
I
I
closed it.
just
Yeah.
stream. I was like, what just happened? Pain, man. It's funny. I was reading up on, and I know people have mixed feelings on horoscopes, but I was born in the month of March, so
Okay.
I fall into the Pisces sign, and
Oh.
apparently we absorb people's emotions more than any other sign.
Oh. You're an
Like,
empath.
and when I was, because okay, I know I have like a great capacity for empathy, but when I was reading that, I was like, do literally just take on the emotions of people. Just like, if I'm just like listening to a conversation, I start to like feel anxiety for someone if they're like having like a rough time in that conversation. I'm just like, oh shit, man.
Yeah.
And I start to like worry about them and shit. You know, it's it's an actual effort to like disassociate and be like, that doesn't have anything to do with me. And that's probably like a normal human emotion to like get some sort of, feedback anxiety from like a stressful situation. But when I read that, I was like, I feel like that is something that I do to an excess because
Like
there's been
like to a detriment to yourself.
yeah, because it'll like distract me from like what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll just be like, oh man, I hope this person's okay. you know so it's something I've had to work on, right? But
Do you ever find it draining?
oh, of course,
I've heard that too. Like
absolutely.
empaths are they can't like really endure too long of a period around other people, especially a lot of people too long, because it's like
Mm,
it's overwhelming. Would you say that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a relatively social person, but like if there's like a lot of just like high emotions, I kind of just like check out.
Yeah, you kind of
Like,
come off more stoic. You know what I mean?
do I?
I at least that's what I thought about you. Like
Oh shit.
just like like
Yeah, like if there's a lot going on, I just and it's
okay.
it's funny. It even happened recently at a dinner I was at. My friend was asking me if I was okay, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool, man. I'm just
You
chilling."
just timed out.
I just kind of
That's
went on
kind of like the
timeout.
opposite of empathy, isn't it?
Um, I think because like that's my method for not
To
like
cope.
getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Is just realizing like there's a lot happening and I need to just kind of be by myself right now.
So you mentioned
Yeah.
like a lot of people feel a certain way, maybe skeptical when it comes to like horoscopes. Like what's your stance on horoscopes, zodiac, all that stuff?
I'm a okay, so I'm I'm ambiguous to it, right? Because there's a lot of parallels between just stuff we see
Yeah.
in the stars and stuff that's like literally like on our bodies. Like if you look at your thumb, it looks like a fucking like Milky Way. Like that design also exists up there.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, you mean like the thumbprint?
The spirals and shit.
Yeah.
And
True.
it's like
Okay.
there's a lot of like parallels up there. Like even I went outside like just like an hour ago and I took out the garbage and I was looking up and I could see the moon, right? And I'm walking, I'm looking up at the moon and clouds are like passing by, and it looks amazing. And I'm just like, yo, there's a fucking celestial perfect sphere up there.
Right.
How is there a sphere? It's literally a perfect sphere just up there, like this gigantic, massive sphere. And then I started thinking about like atoms and like the eyeball, and just how like
Right.
even here on Earth, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of spherical shit. You know, you hear that question, what's more popular, doors or wheels? Like there's mad round shit here,
Okay.
you know? So I say all that to say it's not out of the realm of possibility to believe that there's some sort of connectivity between
Okay. Okay.
what's happening here
Gotcha.
and
Yeah.
what's happening up there.
Yeah.
It's not infinitesimally impossible, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I base my, just like openness
I was
to,
thinking open-mindedness. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, my open-mindedness to just like the parallels that exist in these like, you know, all these like personalities that come with like times different times that the sun was in different alignment and you like came into the earth. Like who the fuck knows, right?
Right. So,
So
okay.
yeah.
Have you heard of the pattern? There's like an app called the Pattern. It's very much based on zodiac. You have to like input where you were born, like the city you were born, the time that you were born, and obviously the date that you were born. And depending on that, gives you all your different signs. Like maybe there's like three signs, 3 star signs or something like that, or 6 star signs or something like that. Anyway, uh, I I was introduced to this by someone who's very much into the zodiac. I am like you. I guess I'm open to be entertained by what we read sometimes in our horoscopes, but I do find a lot of times that horoscopes have to give themselves like they'll say one thing, but they'll have like a counterpoint to kind of like cover itself if that one thing isn't correct. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like you may find yourself in a position right now where you're going to be very emotional with your decisions in life of in terms of professionalism, and then
Oh, you're talking about like the weekly
like a horoscope,
horoscope
yeah.
shits. Yeah.
And then at the end of that, they'll be like, or you could be, and then they'll mention the opposite, like the opposite of that, just sort of like to cover themselves if they were off on that one thing, Then there's this back end. Have you ever
Yeah.
tried?
That shit.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, hold your thought
Yeah.
there. That shit, I don't really like. I'm way more skeptical about that shit. Like that's like predicting the future and shit. You know what I mean? But
Well, yeah,
I was more so talking about like personality aspects of people that were born at a certain time of the year. But yeah,
yeah.
continue.
So like, I've never tried. I should try this. I should let's take on my own advice, but I should read more than just my horoscope for the day, and see just how many of them I actually like
Relate to.
relate to. I don't know why I should do that. Because it's like you read something and you're like, yeah, I'm going through that. But I wonder how many other people can read that and be like, I'm going through that too. And then you read another one and I'm going through that too. But here's one thing. So this pattern thing is very much, again, zodiac, where certain planets were at the time you were born, where you were in like the orbital in the Earth's orbit around the sun's orbit around our galaxy. All of these things in relation have some sort of gravitational differences compared to when other people are born. I don't know why it's also when you're born as opposed to like when you were conceived. Maybe there's, you know what I mean? Like, why is it when you come out into like physical world, something happens with your psyche that ties it all connected with celestial bodies. Anyway, so I'm going through certain stages in my life, and sometimes this app, I'll pay attention to it. Sometimes I don't, but it does send me like alerts, like push notifications on a regular. And there are some times when I would just like happen to read what it says, what it pushes to me that day, and it's like bang on to like what I'm going through. Like it's freaky. It's freaky. Even in
Interesting.
terms of like relationships too. Like it will explain my like connection with you know, my I guess, yeah, my girlfriend, I'll say. And
Hmm.
then like um and it will tell us, you know, what are our strengths and why we're so like rel- like compatible. And then it would
Hmm.
mention one thing that we will like have difficulties with. And it would turn
Hmm.
out that one thing is the most difficult thing we have to deal with. Like this like part of a relationship or anything is the theme behind so many of our like
Hmm.
disagreements and arguments, and like it's crazy.
Hmm.
And so it's,
Yeah.
I can't help but like, hey, look,
There's got
this
to
is
be some
accurate.
merit.
Yeah, this is accurate here, but is it really applicable to everybody? So
Hmm. Yeah, I had a this girl I was dating once. She was an Aries, and we were kind of going through a rough patch. And one day she just randomly sent me like this page talking about Pisces and Aries compatibility.
yeah,
Yo, I read that shit. I was freaked out. I was like,
it
yo,
was like so
what the
parallel,
fuck?
right? Yeah, to what you were going through.
Yo,
Yeah.
it was spooky.
Yeah.
Like down, like, cause they literally used the term couch potato, and I think at that time I may have been unemployed, and I was literally like, cause she would go to work,
Yeah.
and I would like either like just be like in the room or just on the couch, and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, that was
Parallel, right? It's freaky, man. And you
it's
know,
weird,
like I've
man.
noticed too, like in terms of my past relationships, it'll go through like, you know, obviously hindsight is 2020, people say.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I'm a Virgo, so like I do notice that like I definitely uh relate better and like and yeah, associate a lot better with other Virgos, like this
Hmm.
emotional, the emotional quotient. Like I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah.
And yeah, I looked up at like, okay, where are we like in terms of our compatibilities with others? And yeah, other Leos and Virgos, because they're also like emotion based. Cancer was another one that kind of like very much emotional based, and like maybe like empathy and what was another term? But the odd one is Scorpio. So, do you know Scorpios? Any Scorpios? It's so crazy when you think about the Scorpio. It's like the Scorpio was the one that everyone always like. This is the odd one out. Like they are just so like random compared to everyone else in your circle. When you're like, that guy's a Scorpio, and you're like, I understand. Do you know? Do you know who are Scorpios in our circle? I'll name
In
one.
our
I'll
circle,
name one. Yeah, and when I name it, you'll be like, oh damn. I bet you. Can you guess?
who
Can you
can I
guess?
guess who's a Scorpio?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
You ready?
Who?
Warren.
Dede?
Warren.
Warren. Interesting.
Do you see it?
I do see it. I do see it.
Yeah. It makes sense. And like every Scorpio I've ever met too. These are the so I've met like I've met like three or four Scorpios
Break
in
it
the
down.
past. The Scorpios were the one who one of the Scorpios was the one who introduced me to the pattern, like this zodiac thing. Another
Hmm.
Scorpio introduced me to this idea of star seeds. Have you heard of star seeds?
Star seeds, no.
Yeah, it's like apparently our like being, we were like born in other maybe galaxies and dimensions, but
Shit, son.
we were reborn into this being, this body for a purpose, and we are like living this life here in order for us to like reach this next level of understanding before we can graduate to the next level of our being or something like that. It was crazy. It was really, yeah, and this is me coming from like Catholicism, like
Hmm.
Roman Catholic, super strict, you know, Filipino home,
Hmm.
moving over to like redefining my values into like maybe more of an atheist view, and then now I'm like open to like, all right, what is this zodiac thing going on? What are these star seeds, reincarnation, or you know,
Hmm.
I don't know. That,
A lot of
do you
questions in
spend
there.
do you spend a
So
lot
many
of time
questions.
thinking about like why we're here? Like what's our purpose in life?
Only every day.
You do? You actually ask
Dude, yes. It's
why
it's
we're
kind of
here?
annoying.
Okay.
It's kind of annoying because I feel like kind of jaded. I guess because I spend so much time around the end of it all,
Yeah.
just because of work, right? And I'm just like, yo, what's it all gonna amount to?
And you're right, Day Day was a Scorpio too. Day Day says Scorpios are a great bunch, just saying.
Day Day's a Scorpio?
Yeah, Day Day Scorpio too. I wasn't sure if Day Day
Oh
was like
shit.
just a bit before. Mike's Capricorn. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Day Day is like another odd one out too. No
Yeah, because you
offense.
know
You're not
what?
odd ones out, but like,
Because you know what?
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, go ahead, finish.
No. You know what? Go ahead.
Because I was gonna say I feel like Scorpios have a high emotional capacity, but like there's like there's a moment where they like have like moments. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Because like I feel like Warren, because he's a very emotional, high emotional, what do they call it, intelligence
Yeah,
and
awareness. It's a
awareness,
high
right?
emotional awareness. Yeah.
But he will have moments where you're like, yep, that's Warren. You know what I mean? He just does like Warren shit.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like Day Day also too, like in our conversations, even on this podcast, like he's definitely shown to have a high emotional intelligence and a social awareness. But he is very kind of like has a very specific
Like almost tunnel vision sometimes.
um I don't want to say tunnel vision. I want to say um he will believe if he has a belief, he believes it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And he does not shy away from his opinion. And you gotta admire someone that will just like be themselves. Even with you, for instance, like you will admit to being someone that judges, but not in a like mean way or anything. But you like do judge shit, and it's like
Yeah.
you acknowledge that, and that's fine, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like
So,
I've been told, thou shalt not judge. Or like you shouldn't judge other people, or don't judge a book by its cover. And like I don't understand how anyone cannot judge, like just naturally. Like, don't you judge on a regular basis every day, all the time? Don't you? Like,
yeah. But then I always try to shoot people bail or like be like, okay, why is this situation like this? Like I'll
oh,
judge them and then be like, okay, what got you here?
empathy
You know?
part. There's the empathy part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing I learned too is like some signs are fixed and some signs are mutable. So apparently I'm a mutable sign.
What does that mean?
So
Like, you
like
can change around a little. You have some fluctuation.
yeah,
There's
but
another like
I think
little, what's the word, like scapegoat, just so they can like, in case you're not like aligning up with that horoscope that day, it's like, well, because you're mutable.
yeah, and then some signs are like fixed in there like,
Well, that like
there's good
Aries.
stuff.
Aries. Have you heard about
Oh,
Aries
that's
people? Yeah,
definitely a fixed
right.
sign.
Like you can just tell. Like,
Huh.
yep,
So
you're that. That's for sure. Like that's how you are. Unfortunately, I don't
you know
know
what's
Capricorn or Sagittarius. Kyle's Sagittarius. I don't know what that is, but
you know what's funny?
I think. Yeah. What's up?
Um, just like before when I was like, because my ex was Aries,
Yeah.
anytime I was on a dating app and we were having a conversation and she was having certain reactions to me,
Yeah.
or it was just going a certain way, I'd be like, "Are you an Aries?" And she'd be like, "How'd you know?" It's weird. Like there's a lot of weird parallels, man.
My bad. I think Kyle is
Okay,
actually Capricorn or Aquarius. Capricorn or Aquarius. But yeah, go ahead.
neither would surprise me. And then one of my friends, she's a Pisces, and the first time we like ever hung out, we were just like talking about our families and stuff, and she was describing her mom to me, and I was like, "Yo, your mom sounds a lot like my mom." And I was like, "What sign's your mom?" She's like, "My mom's a Scorpio." And then
There it is.
I just Googled my mom's birthday,
Yeah.
and I figured out my mom's a Scorpio. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit!"
Yeah.
It was so weird. But I don't know. That could just be a fucking
Which is
fluke.
like kind of weird when you think about our parents. whatever they are, their combination. And then obviously it doesn't necessarily control when we're born. We just end up, it's still pretty random when we are born. But it's crazy to find out, let's say if two Scorpios, have a child, and then maybe that child ends up being something other than a Scorpio. But then you think, okay, well, the child should be like their parents, like at least like they get some of the attributes from their parents. But Scorpio types. So if you have two Scorpio types and then like they have a kid that's not Scorpio, it's like, how did that happen? Like.
But okay, if we're thinking about a timeline, the Scorpios would have been like born at a certain time, right? But time from conception, gestation, or whatever to birth is like,
yeah, 9 months.
It's not a year, so it wouldn't line up with that same time, right?
Right.
Also, the only traits they would necessarily receive from their parents is more like
physical?
physiological. Yeah, like physical, right? Yeah, because it's more like chromosomes too, right?
Well, yeah.
I feel like if we were to put it on a scale, it would be way more like DNA,
right.
bone structure, that type of stuff.
But like you take
As
after
opposed
your
to,
mom
like,
or you take after your
personality.
dad. I guess most of it
Yeah.
is physical attributes, but
Yeah,
there's
because you
personality
think about
things too, I thought.
because you think about people that give up their kid for adoption. The kid could end up completely. The kid ends up how the adopted parents
Oh.
are.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah, because like
Oh,
parents
I
give a
guess.
kid for adoption. The kid gets raised by another. Think of Clark Kent. He grew up like the Kents, but his
Right.
parents are from Krypton and shit. But he's like, oh, I'm a farm boy. I gotta be sure.
I mean, it is a fictional character though, so it's
But still, I mean, just so
yeah.
everyone had an example.
I guess it would be interesting to know if there's anyone out there who is a foster child, if they ended up meeting their biological parents and then seeing that sort of like, because nature versus nurture, right? That whole,
Hmm.
I do think a lot of things of growing up, as you said, they're more like their adopted parents because that's nurture. You do pick up more of
Hmm.
like your way of living and like your habits are probably nurtured things you learn, but the nature part, like the physical, like the natural things, like I tend to think that like homosexuality is not nurture. People make that argument, like that you can learn to be homosexual, and I don't think so. Like you adopt that because you see it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Have you
okay.
heard that before?
People, I don't think so actually. I've heard it's like a mental illness, but like I haven't heard
There's
heard
another
that
one
it's
too.
something you learn.
Now, what do
I
you
haven't
think
heard that
about
it's
the
something.
fact that it's regarded as a mental illness? Because if you think
I think,
about go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I think like mental illness can be used to categorize a lot of things, right? But if you just think about human beings as a biological entities, there's a lot of parallels within like the animal kingdom too. Because this is how I rationalize a lot of shit that humans do, and just our capacity for insanity sometimes.
Yeah.
We're not that evolved, yo.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like just because we have the ability to reason and think, we're still animals. We're still mammals at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I think even within the animal kingdom, there's a lot of same sex or non-sex, and I'm talking specifically about like sex.
Yeah. 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 I
There's
think examples specifically, yeah, where the
yeah,
behavior
the,
is parallels. Like you'll see males of the same like animal also like participate
yeah,
that because their physiology, like it's like that's what their body is telling them they need to do, but if you
yeah,
can't find any other like females around, it doesn't necessarily stop their like hormones or their urges or whatever like that, so they still carry on with that anyway. is that even
Yeah.
somewhat parallel to what homosexuality is in like humans?
Because even if you think about that word, right? Um, Heterosexual versus homosexual.
Yeah,
Hetero means multiple, right?
I don't know.
Or opposite?
Maybe opposite.
Is it
Yeah.
opposite? Maybe. I think it's probably. I don't know. We'll fact check later,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to maybe let's fact check. And I think homo is just means one or singular,
Yeah, yeah. Hetero versus
right?
homogeneous. Heterogeneous mixtures have visually distinguishable components. Homogeneous, uniform throughout. So yeah, I guess
Yeah,
yeah, it's like same versus like different. But
yeah.
but when we use, I wanted to make a comment on like when we use the word mental illness, right? If you classify homosexuality as mental illness, or like even schizophrenia as mental illness, or like whatever mental illness is today, it's
Mm,
whatever we don't deem as normal.
normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so but normal is like statistically what is the majority. So
Hmm.
we only base normality on what the majority of people like experience or yeah, or how the majority of people like the population
Hmm.
actually go through
Social
in terms of
contract.
yeah, of their social norm. But then when you have an anomaly, or like when someone thinks different, like if we think statistically how many homosexual people are there in the world, let's see. I've never looked that up. How
And this is my
many?
other thing too.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, this has been like there have been homosexuals present on the planet since like literally I think the beginning of time. That's like
yeah,
been documented. So it's like this isn't something that people are just like learning about. Like there's some biological origin. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like it's fucking science at the end of the day, man. That's even a like that. And I was thinking about race too, because I was like, yo, how are we gonna call ourselves evolved when we literally will still kill each other because one of us is like a different color?
yeah. That's stupid. Yeah, I mean we know
So
that.
it's like we we have like all of these technological advances, but even just on a societal consciousness, emotional level, I feel like we're still on like level one, yo.
Yo, check this out.
Oh shit, what's this, yo?
So, on average, globally, 80% identify as heterosexual, 3% as gay, lesbian, or homosexual, 4% as bisexual, 1% as pansexual, omnisexual, 1% as asexual, 1% as other, and 11% don't know or won't say. So I guess yeah, they
Interesting.
take the survey of like, but 80% heterosexual. Globally, 7% say they are only or mostly attracted to the same sex. 4% equally to both sexes. 83% only the opposite sex. And 6% don't know or prefer what to say. So this is attraction versus like actual like identification, like if you are if the way you view
Mm,
yourself versus like how you actually regard or judge or perceive other people. So it's
mm.
not. It's pretty low, I gotta say. 83 is a vast majority is hetero. So then, yeah, you would deem anything outside of that as a mental illness. Is that fair? Do you think? But you're right. You did say it's been so. Oh, Mike was saying something, but he was just kidding. Uh, you said it's been
What's
since
this say?
he said Homo is a recessive gene. Just kidding. That's what he said. It could be genetic. I actually think it's genetic too. I do think homosexuality is genetic. So
Oh,
like, how can it not be?
whoa, I've never thought of that.
But not to say that you pass it on. But it's a sequence. It's a sequence, right? So I think whatever you had in terms of like the DNA sequence, maybe from your dad, and the DNA sequence from your mom, and like just so happened that when that
Oh shit, yo.
mixed
It
up,
kind of blew my mind.
yeah, it's like okay, well there, look, you're that part
Is
of
that a
that.
theory?
I thought that was a thing. Yeah, like
Is that the theory?
is homosexuality genetic?
Is this a do the LGBTQ community find offense to this?
Probably. Okay, so it says there is no gay gene, there is no straight gene. Sexuality is just complex, study confirms. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I
Sexuality
was like,
cannot
oh
be pinned
shit.
down by biology, psychology, or life experiences. This study and others show because human sexual attraction is decided by all these factors. But like even take away the sexual attraction part of just like going to animals. Like is it like a innate behavior?
In animals?
Well, we were talking about like, when it's like mating season for certain animals, but if you can't
Mm-hmm.
find a mate, then other things happen. Anomalies happen, like where they don't end up going after like let's say their own species. Maybe you get like cross species stuff, or maybe you get like male male or whatever, or who knows.
Oh, okay. Um, I remember when my cat was, this is my old female cat, when she was in heat, she would just like crawl around the floor and fucking moan like this terrible meow, and I was like, yo, are you fucking okay?
Yeah,
So
man,
like,
it's
when they are unable to find a mate, there is a number of possible like, you know, adverse reactions that could happen.
and this has to be all in the brain, right? Right? It has to be something in the brain. If you think about it, like the brain controls everything in the body, like hormonal
Yeah, I mean
release, all
everything
these.
is the brain.
Yeah. So even though these tiny animals, tiny brains, somehow they're getting these triggered on these like mating seasons or whatever, the time of the month, even like things like that. Yeah, I guess too. Like even with women, like in human race, like isn't like the whole time of the month like a hormonal thing, like a regular cyclical hormonal thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that it's literally timed fairly consistently
Yeah,
throughout the course of their
every
life.
3 to 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Until menopause, I guess, or until like even pregnancy.
Another but that's not a release of emotion. That's like
Well, that's
not
another regulatory thing though in the body,
yeah, yeah,
like
regulatory.
because they have to do that, I guess, in terms of like yeah, even just reproductive organisms, reproductive health in your organs, like the reproductive organs. Like apparently, like every
Mm,
woman is like when they're born, they can only give out a certain number of eggs. Like a female. They only have a certain number of
mm,
eggs. Like so,
mm.
once you release all those eggs, you're done. Like you don't just keep making more.
Yeah. Limited amount.
But I guess with men and like they're it's like
I killed 1 billion kids today.
tomorrow I'll have a billion more.
Tomorrow another slaughter. Oh man. Yo, just the biology too with like men and women, it's like crazy, yo. Like the opposite. Just like, yo, billions, dog. Yo, we're all murderers,
Yeah,
like
but I don't know if they're sentient.
mass.
They're not sentient, right?
I hope not. That would be terrible.
Imagine though, like I guess, well, is that it used to be every living thing, but now then we have to like qualify it. Is it sentient? Like even like a fetus, versus an embryo or things like that. Is it upon conception or upon birth? Like, pro-choice, pro-life, all these things. There's levels of like sentiism that we like qualify. Should they have the right to life, right?
It's
If you're gonna go
have you ever
straight from like sperm, like man, like that's
have you seen that Louis C.K. joke
what.
where he's talking about like how he likes to go, um, how he sympathizes with like people with the pro-life people who stand outside clinics with the signs and shit, and he's like, "Yo, man, I mean, they literally think they're killing babies in there. They think that's what's happening, that babies are being murdered to death in that building. So yeah, I would have a sign too." But he's like, I mean, what is a fetus? It's either like taking a shit or it's a baby. It's one or the other. But like I'm probably messing up the joke right now,
Okay.
but basically he was kind of saying like, where's the line, you know? Because if it's like,
Yeah.
if we're actually killing babies, then this is terrible. But if we're not, then it's basically just like taking a shit.
Yeah.
It was horrible. That sounded terrible
No,
again. I'm
I'm
hearing
trying.
it back
I
now.
remember hearing that bit. I just can't remember exactly like where the
Can we pull
punchline
that
was.
up on YouTube?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do.
We'll get on show. Yeah.
Ah, who
Let's see if we
cares?
can
We're
pull that up.
reacting to it, so let's do that. So Louis C.K. on
Babies.
Louis C.K. on abortions now, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if this will come up. Hold on. I don't know which one it is here.
Hold on, I'm looking it up too.
Is it? Let's see if it's this one.
Hello.
I can't find it up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, you know, I think
Whatever.
abortion
It's all good.
is...
Yeah, this is it. Are you watching?
Oh, this is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's it. Okay.
So he just said hello. He just started his bit. He's just like, hello, welcome, and then...
Very much. Thank you. So, you know, I think abortion is...
Right away.
Here's what I think. This is what I think. Here's what I think. I think you should not get an abortion unless you need one. In which case, you better get one. I mean, seriously. If you need an abortion, you better get one. Don't fuck around. And hurry. That's not getting an abortion that you need is like not taking a shit. That's how bad that is.
That's what you're saying.
It's like not taking a shit. That's what I think. I think abortion is exactly like taking a shit. I think it is 100% the exact same thing as taking a shit. Or it isn't. It isn't. It's either taking a shit or it's killing a baby. It's only one of those two things. It's no other things. So if you didn't like hearing that it's like taking a shit, you think it's killing a baby. That's the only other one you get to have. Which means you should be holding a sign in front of the place. People hate abortion protesters. They're so shrill and awful. They think babies are being murdered. What are they supposed to be like? I don't know, it's not cool. I don't want to be a dick about it, though. Ruin their day as they murder several babies all the time.
Oh, God.
I don't think it's killing a baby. I don't. I mean, it's a little bit killing a baby. It's a little bit. It's 100% killing a baby. It's totally killing a whole baby.
Unless it isn't, he's gonna say. Or it isn't.
But I think that women should be allowed to kill babies. That's what I think. They should be allowed to kill babies. Yeah. Kill babies! Do some shots and kill some babies. I killed like 4 babies last night. It was fucking retarded.
What is happening?
I just think it has to be one or the other. You know, like when people say abortion should be legal, safe, and rare. Why rare if it should be legal? If it should be legal, it's shitting. If it should be rare, it's murdering baby.
Wow.
So I don't know what to tell my kids.
All right. Okay. Well, there.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the bit.
There it is. That was a much better version of what I was saying.
So, and basically, he stayed on the fence. Like he didn't want to say one side. Cause I feel like he's more pro-choice. I felt like the theme behind that bit was that he's still more pro-choice. He said he thinks
If you need
women should be able to kill babies. He did say that.
if they need
but he
to,
still counted
in
it
the
as
beginning.
maybe it's still killing babies.
Yeah.
You know, so he's pro-choice regardless. Regardless of whatever you view it as, he was pro-choice, which is I kind of agree. Like I agree with that too.
He kind of made a little. I think he just put out a Netflix Netflix show recently, right?
Yeah, a new one after that. It wasn't that not super recent, but I remember seeing it like within like a couple months, and it was good too. I thought it was good. It's his comeback
I think Bill Burr just.
after he was
I think
ousted.
Bill Burr just put one out too.
Oh, I gotta watch that then. Yeah. I wonder when Aziz is gonna make a comeback.
Oh, he put one out recently.
Really? He came back?
Yeah, he put like a 20-minute set out or something recently.
Okay, I'll watch that too.
Yeah, he got right into it.
All right. Anyway, I feel like we can probably end it off there. I think we had some like good in-depth tangent conversations. Kind of leaves things a lot to interpretation. I don't think we need to go much longer. I'm trying to see if we can keep these to an hour. So, is there anything else you kind of want to touch on?
Yeah, man. Everybody just, feel them feelings. If you got some pain inside, cry it out.
I will say, well, yes. Anybody, men, women, if you feel like crying, cry. I think crying is healthy.
Yeah, man. Cry. Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah, there's that one. There's one piece of recommendation. Two, as like Deji also said too, with like in terms of like zodiac horse, like open yourself up to maybe even just entertaining yourself with what else could be out there in terms of like belief systems or like, because you may not believe in zodiac and horoscopes. I don't, some people with tarot card readings and like going to see like a fortune teller and like all these, or like Reiki. Have you heard about Reiki too? Like certain like gemstones and stuff and like candles and like certain things like generate energy with your body. There's another one too. People think a lot of just they'll just be closed off to those notions, and I mean nothing wrong with that, but I do think it would be interesting for you guys to, if you've never heard of it or if you come across it, don't shut it down right away and just give yourself placebo effect is a strong thing. Okay, You're right. Yeah, I won't deny that, but is it a placebo though? Like, can you prove that it actually is placebo? My whole thing with the whole pattern thing, right? Like, as I said, I put in like the date of birth, time of birth, location of birth. Somehow all these celestial bodies in our galaxy align up to why I am this way. Why am I this way, right? So that day I get this push notification telling me what I'm going through. It's like, these next 2-3 weeks you're gonna go through this cycle of blah blah blah, whatever, right? And then I'm like, how do you know? That's my question though. Like, how do you go from celestial bodies lining up with all these like different gravitational pulls and all these seasonal things of like Mars aligning with Jupiter and all this stuff? So it's telling me that I'm gonna go through this cycle in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Who's writing what's happening to me? Like, who is the person who decides that these planets lining up in this time is going to make me feel questionable about my career choices, or something like who decides that? And yeah, Mike's saying
it's
Inception,
Dr. Strange,
power of suggestion. Yeah,
it's Dr. Strange.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the disconnect part. It's like, I get it. I do see that there could be a lot of scientific parallels, like you were describing with like the way our bodies were designed, the way our like physiology was designed compared to like even like the solar system. Very cool. I agree. Even the atomic model, nucleus, protons and electrons and stuff like that.
Orbits.
And you've got now these other. It's funny enough. Yeah, they talk about like the other subatomic particles, right? Like boson, like Higgs boson and like quarks and stuff like that. But then, dude, like now we're hearing more and more about dark matter and like antimatter in the universe, and like so all these other things that we never used to thought might exist. So very much parallel from a
Who
micro to like a very macro size. But anyway, but then
we still don't even get gravity.
what do you mean?
And we all live here. We still don't really understand, like we get the science behind it, but it's like, okay, it's because a big thing is just big. Okay, but why?
Yeah,
That's what gravity is, right? A large celestial object just pulling stuff toward it. But why is it doing that? And why does it have to be a large celestial object? Because like a rock is also like, if you think about it in terms of scale, to a molecule, a rock is a large celestial object. Like, it's just like, bro, we don't know anything.
Last thing I will show, and then we'll call it after that. I think this is a good segue to this, and then we can end off on that. But this video is really cool. Just here, let me mute my music. Come on, here we go. All right, you watch it?
Look around you.
You watch it? You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where is this place you're occupying? Somewhere in a room, maybe in a city, on a continent, on a planet orbiting a star in a galaxy among billions. But where is all of that? While this may feel like a daft question, it turns out that the concept of an absolute position is something humans made up. In a nutshell, the universe is a big bag of space that has things in it. If someone removed all these things, the stars and planets and black holes and dust, there would just be empty space left. In empty space, the concept of having a position loses all meaning. Empty space is uniform, the same everywhere. The space we occupy is not like a stage under our feet. We can't mark specific points or staple something to space-time as an anchor. Without things, there is no position. We are really ever only at a position in relation to something else. Which also means that things we take for granted, like up and down, are actually relative too. Okay, let's fill the universe up with things again and try to find out where you are right now, relative to everything else. From your perspective, the world is seemingly flat, and you can move in 3 dimensions. It's what physicists call a frame of reference, the perspective you have of the universe and how you see things moving around you, where your up and down is. Your frame of reference is correct, for you, but not for the rest of the universe. Around 5 kilometers from you, where the horizon begins, the ground noticeably curves away from you. If you
I did not know that was 5 kilometers, but that's good to know. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Anyway, that's pretty small if you think about it. You can only see 5 kilometers
crazy.
Before it starts to bend away. That's crazy.
You could see through the ground, you'd see people from below or sideways. But they don't fall down off the planet because gravity doesn't actually pull them down. Down is an illusion of your reference.
You could see people sideways, yo.
Yeah, if you look through the Earth, you'd be like, hey, look,
Oh, God.
see their feet.
Frame.
Crazy.
To Earth's reference frame, gravity just pulls in. But for humans there is an up and down because within our frame of reference that just makes sense. Which is also why we think that the planet itself has an up and down, north and south, and we made our maps accordingly. But an observer looking at the solar system might disagree. Our maps make sense to us because we're used to them, not because they are correct. Okay, so this is step 1. Your position on what feels like a flat surface but is actually a sphere. But this sphere is always moving, never staying in one position. Earth is orbiting a star, the Sun, at the center of the solar system. While we usually imagine this as pretty orderly, someone looking at us from the outside would see something pretty messy. To see this more clearly, we'll exaggerate all these movements. This is not to scale.
This is really cool.
Oh,
First of all, our orbit really is an ellipse, so we spend half the year sinking a little bit closer to the Sun, speeding up, and half the year rising up a bit and slowing down. And the ellipse itself changes its shape every 100,000 years too. And in another cycle of 112,000 years, the ellipse itself is drifting, which at least creates a beautiful shape. In the end, we get an orbital path that looks like a wobbly circle with wavy edges. And it gets worse as the moon now starts to mess things up too. As the moon is a pretty massive thing, it pulls on Earth. Both objects orbit their common center of gravity that lies around 4,700 kilometers off to the side of Earth's core. In practice, this means that as the Moon orbits Earth, it's jerking Earth around a bit, enough to make it jiggle. Okay, so you're standing on the surface of a rotating planet that is jiggling around the Sun in an elliptical orbit that changes a bit every year. But who's to say the Earth is right? From the perspective of the Sun, the plane of the solar system is arbitrary. It's defined as the plane the Earth orbits in because that is convenient for us. In reality, the other planets are just a little bit inclined with respect to our plane. From their point of view, we're the ones with a slightly bent orbit. But this isn't it, far from it. The solar system as a whole is orbiting the center of the Milky Way galaxy. If we look at the Milky Way, we can clearly make out a galactic plane in which the solar system orbits the center every 230 million years. But of course, it's not that simple. First of all, the plane of the solar system is not aligned with the plane of the galaxy. Nothing really is. Just like the planets in the solar system orbit the Sun on their own planes, so do all the stars orbiting the galactic center. The solar system as a whole is tilted about 60 degrees towards the galactic plane, speeding through space at almost 1,000,000 kilometers per hour.
That's crazy.
Someone in the center of the galaxy would see the orbits of the planets moving through space in a helix shape, which you can imagine as a corkscrew motion on the tilted plane of the solar system relative to the plane of the galaxy. This orientation
That's
in
so
space
cool,
means that
man.
sometimes the planets are sort of in front of the Sun as it orbits around the galactic core. Let's just look at this for a moment. There is a strange and eerie beauty about how our planets and the Sun move through space. Do you feel a bit dizzy? It gets worse. This is still not the whole story, because the mass of the galactic disk is constantly pulling on the solar system too. Like a drunk dolphin, we're diving down and shooting up hundreds of light years through the galactic plane 10 times every orbit along arcs thousands of light years long. We haven't mapped this motion out completely, as it takes the solar system tens of millions of years to go up and back once, and well, humanity is not that old.
Damn.
Let's look at your relative position again.
That was crazy just to like... Yeah, just thinking about how young we are. Yeah.
A planet tilted towards the Sun, jiggled around by the Moon, in a solar system tilted towards the galactic plane, moving forward in a helical shape, diving up and down through the plane. But where is up in a galaxy? At this point, the frame of reference becomes a bit arbitrary and pointless because of the nature of the universe at this scale. The Milky Way is part of a galaxy group that appears to be part of greater structures like the Laniakea supercluster, which itself is part of the gigantic Pisces-Cetus supercluster complex, and finally a galactic filament that spans hundreds of millions of light years in all directions and orientations. Someone looking right at us from that far away will only see the end of greatness. All stuff appears homogeneous, the same everywhere. Just like with empty space, when everything looks the same, who's to say anyone's view is better than anyone else's? We've reached the end of our little exercise in cosmic humility. Let's make the journey backwards again, from the indescribably large to the really large to our galactic home, to our galaxy, to the solar system diving up and down through the Milky Way, to the jiggle of existence, and finally, back to you right now, watching this video. If this is all a bit much...
Okay, so like, even if we are sitting right here, right? Just being stationary, we think we're not moving. We're traveling like ridiculous speed right now around the center of our galaxy. That's crazy. And obviously the Earth is traveling already too, and then we're spinning around. First of all, the Earth is spinning, and then our Earth is orbiting around the Sun, and then the Sun is orbiting around the Milky Way, and then that galaxy is also orbiting around something else. So it's like we're moving like
we're traveling so fast we can't even perceive it. Like, you know how like when an object is moving really fast, it becomes like one thing.
What do you mean?
You know, like if you watch a video of like a car moving back and forth and it's getting faster, it does like this thing where it moves so fast it just becomes a car again. That just stays like still.
Okay.
You know? So it's like if we as a species develop technology and like more instruments to just give us more data, we could probably like, I don't know, be able to just somehow like have a relative like visual or experience of how fast. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Not really.
Like I just mean like, because right now we don't have the instruments to like measure, say for instance, like the surface of the sun, right?
Okay.
A couple 100 years ago, we didn't even know what the sun was, but gradually, because of technology and shit like that, we've been able to like actually map pictures, like high resolution images, and get like temperature readings and stuff like that. I just feel like at a point where we develop our technology to the level where it can give us different types of data, like more advanced data, we'll be able to just like picture the whole movement of the earth in like a completely different way. Is what I'm saying. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, like what as you described that, I thought about like what we're doing with like all our, you know, what we call like our telescope, like Hubble. You heard about Hubble
Yeah.
telescope, right? And we used to
Yeah.
think, when we think telescope, we think a long piece of tube with glass, and we're looking through glass. All these telescopes that we have now are not optical. You know, like
Yeah.
it's crazy when you think about when they finally were able to get like pictures of a black hole, like so far away from us, maybe
Crazy.
even the center of our galaxy. So they take that like a Hubble sized telescope, which is a giant satellite dish, and then they've now take at like 7 different points on the Earth, they build one of these satellite dishes, and then they send a signal in one direction, and then they measure the way that signal interrupts the other 6 signals is how they're able to like deduce or graph down to what that image is, like light years away, because of the way these radio waves interact with each other as they're pulsing their like signal from each dish. It's crazy, man. Like that's pretty
Crazy, yo.
that's pretty impressive. I had no idea until I watched this video like maybe 3 weeks ago that that's how they did it.
That's crazy.
I used to think Hubble
you
was
know,
like, yeah, it was just like no, it's
there's a there's a term called parallax. Have you heard that term before?
Mhm.
So that's basically how they measure distance in space. Because what the beginning of that video said was really important. Like, if there's no things, there can be no distance, right? Like, you need a relative fixed point to like measure something. So like how they measure things in space is by one object's relative distance to another object. That's what parallax is, you know? So it's so cool,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Yo,
the
like,
apparent displacement or the difference in apparent direction of an object as seen from 2 different points, not on a straight line with the object. The angular difference in direction of a celestial body as measured from 2 points on the Earth's orbit. Yeah, you just described. I didn't realize that, but yeah, you described how we're able to see something by using multiple telescopes at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah. It's also another one too,
Yo.
like when you look at something with both your eyes, right? You eventually you get close enough where if you close one eye, it's gonna look like it's over there. But when you turn the other eye, it looks like it moved, but you didn't move it.
Yeah.
And that's basically parallax too. Like the
Same
same
thing.
idea. Yeah.
It's like space, bro. There's so many parallels. But I don't know. People still believe the Earth is flat. So,
Yeah, like how do people still like sit on that? Like anyway, that's just sad.
like, yo, come on, bro.
Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I know this is kind of like all over the place, but that's why we enjoy these 65th BrackCast. We'll see you next week, Thursday again at 11 p.m. And yeah, tune in. If you have any comments or if you want to know about any of the things we looked up, comment down below. Blood, are you doing blood?
I'm trying. I can't do
You
it.
can't do blood? Right there.
It's been a while.
There we go, guys. Oh, well, it's backwards because of Discord flips it. But yeah, Last thing, Modern Warfare 2 coming out soon. There was like a reveal thing today.
Shit.
It comes out in October. It looks
I gotta
really
watch
good.
that.
I might just buy that. Maybe. Probably
I gotta
not.
watch that.
Probably not. All right. Peace out. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.